indoors. So as we go into summer and you have these massive heat waves coming in the rain, communal hall is going to serve a perfect purpose here with this party. Being indoors with some AC, I'm sure the parents are going to love that, as well as the kids. And then over at Hollywood Studios, this is an area that's kind of been dead in recent years. So when I saw that we're getting some activities at Animation Courtyard, I was like, about time. It's about time. But Animation Courtyard, which is right next to the Disney Junior show, right next to Star Wars Launch Bay as well, we're going to have magicians, jump rope performers, and surprise character appearances over there. So Toy Story Land, I feel like at Hollywood Studios is the big kids area where kids love it, aliens, whirling saucers. But if you just walk right over next door, you can have some fun character appearances. And also just the fact that that's right next to the Little Mermaid show that's debuting on May 27th as well. So that little pocket of Hollywood Studios is going to be very popular this summer. And then moving over to Animal Kingdom, this is an area that no one ever talks about, but it's actually one of the most unique things that you could do at Walt Disney World. Taking the train back to Rafiki's Play Watch at Animal Kingdom, we're going to have crafting activities themed to pollinators for kids. And also there's going to be a new limited time Wilderness Explorer badge if you do that activity going throughout the park. Also at Discovery Island, there's going to be a sing-along with the Dino Institute intern. That's a character that Disney debuted a few months ago. It is a Dino Institute character based around the dinosaur attraction, which we know is closing next year. So 3 things at Animal Kingdom. And then at the resorts, if you were staying at Pop Central,
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Good afternoon to you. Welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local, fox35orlando.com, and on YouTube. It is 4 o'clock. That means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we're tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom today. Joining me for today's Top 4 at 4, Fox 35 News anchor John Brown. John, we appreciate you joining us today.
It is Friday. We got some good weather ahead once again. So, all right, big news here in Central Florida today. The budget, at least the skinny budget, came out today, and it's getting a lot of attention along the Space Coast. President Trump's administration released the skinny budget blueprint that outlines top-line spending from the White House for the next fiscal year. Now, again, one area in particular, the budget for NASA. Now, keep in mind, first of all, today's budget numbers are only the skinny budget numbers, not the full budget. That can change. It simply means no particulars right now. But NASA is requesting $18.8 billion for next year. Right now, it's $24.8 billion, so that's a 25% cut. Now, according to Space News, the website, White House proposing to phase out the Artemis SLS and Orion spacecraft, as well as reduce ISS operations in that budget, and also put more attention on other space initiatives. Of course, major impact on jobs along the Space Coast if this goes through. The Artemis Moon program is expensive and way behind schedule, according to the White House's preliminary budget. So I think we've known that. It's delayed, and so where the money goes from here, we'll have to see. Yeah, that's what lobbyists are for.
Right. Well, and 140% over budget, the SLS program. They said it cost $4 billion to launch one of those rockets every single time. That's what they've been using for these Artemis launches. And so they're looking at, the budget document kind of says we need to focus on getting back to the moon and putting a person on Mars, but we have to find more cost-efficient ways of doing that. They said this is not it.
I think there was a lot of interest at first, and as these things drag on, I think the interest wanes. But I'm not a big conspiracy guy. But how we can't do this easily today when we could 50 years ago, it just seems so bizarre. Not just to me. That's what everybody seems to be talking about that when you bring this up. Like, how do we not get back up there easily if this has more technology than the first rocket that landed on the moon? Something doesn't seem to add up there.
It is interesting. Now, you talk about this still being a proposal. Yeah. There being lobbyists and everything. Yeah. We talked earlier with Dr. Don Platt from Florida Institute of Technology, and he's talked about, because we've seen proposed cuts of NASA and many of their programs before, but he talked about how they have been resilient and able to avoid some devastating cuts before.
Well, the SLS program has been amazingly resilient through the years. There's been a number of people that have thought of ways to try to get rid of it. And you're right, Congress has always made sure that it stays in the budget. And, that's always been part of the NASA process, is that they have people, working on their systems from all over the country to sort of spread around the interest and support for NASA. And so it won't die a quick death. There's certainly going to be a number of people in Congress and all that are trying to find a way to maintain it. And so there's lots of change in focus here. Of course, change can provide opportunity, but in the meantime, there's a lot of upheaval ahead, I believe.
So we'll see what Congress ends up saying with it, but likely some changes ahead.
Yeah, here's my prediction. Right? I don't give predictions hardly ever. I bet one thing that might happen is they close up shop in D.C. and come to the Space Coast.
We know a lot of people are pushing
empty.
for it.
It is empty. One of the Trump administration officials did that video walking through the NASA offices in D.C. It's a big building with nobody there. So it wouldn't say much, but it could be lumped into that. So possibility. All right. All right. Deputies seeking the help of the community right now in identifying a man possibly connected to the assault of a 90-year-old woman at a senior living facility here in Orlando. Here's the video. The Orange County Sheriff's Office on Friday released this video today of the person of interest in that case. On April 29th, between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m., that's when this all played out. Authorities said a woman inside an apartment at Harbor Chase at Dr. Phillips, which is that facility, became the victim of a battery after an intruder gained access to the apartment under unknown circumstances. But you see how it's all playing out right here. Deputies confirmed the woman was the victim, but that facility tells Fox 35 News that she was unharmed. But they're saying they don't know how it all went down. You see, he just walks right in. We can see with our own eyes what's going on there. Now, how he got to that point, not for sure, but that's who they're looking for today.
Yeah, they're asking anyone who may know who that is or are able to identify him, call 911, call deputies, whatever. They do say this is a person of interest, so someone they certainly want to speak to about that.
All right, let's talk about Roblox. Did you ever play this? Roblox?
No.
John, did you ever play Roblox? Are you into it?
I played it a little bit.
A little bit? Okay. I still don't get it. My kids were into it, and I say that to say I'm not a very good parent, it appears. Because I have no idea what the game is. Yeah. They were playing it, and I probably should have been looking over their shoulder the whole time, right? So Roblox now responding to all the scrutiny they're facing right now. The online gaming platform has about 90 million daily users, and more than 40% of them are under the age of 13. This app has gotten a lot of scrutiny recently because of some bad guys who have used it to find and victimize some young people. This week, Marion County deputies arrested a 17-year-old who they said used the app to meet and then exploit hundreds of young people. They actually flagged the teen's activities and have been working with investigators on their case for quite a while here. Actually, Roblox has a person and AI that looks into this stuff. They look into it all day long. They start flagging things. But they even say, when you have, 90 million users, we said, it's hard to catch everything. And, people block out words. We know how that all works where it doesn't get flagged. But, yeah, so they're now responding saying, we're on it. We have a team there, but we can't monitor everything.
Well, and Fox 35's Matt Trezza spoke to the company's chief safety officer earlier today. We'll have more of that for you coming up a little bit later in the show. But one of the things that he said that also poses a challenge is that some of these bad actors will maybe start out on Roblox, but then end up taking that chat to other platforms as well.
And what they try and do is they try and move the conversation from Roblox to another platform, another messaging platform. And we see that in the chat dialogues where people will say, hey, let's go talk on some other thing. And what that means is that we don't always see everything that's happening. And that makes this a particularly challenging problem for Roblox. And I would say a particularly challenging problem for the entire industry, because these users and the bad actors, they have phones, they have phone numbers, they have accounts on lots of messaging platforms, and we only see a slice of what's happening. Our strategy is to make what's happening on Roblox as safe as it possibly can be, but we don't control the policy or the technology that operates on other platforms.
In that, that's kind of the scary thing too, is that there are so many platforms,
right?
And so then it's just there are so many different avenues for these things to happen, and they can be helpful, they can be fun, but this also shows that the opportunity is there, and there are predators out there trying to take advantage of that.
You know what scares me as a parent? Not it scares me, but I guess should worry me is, I would never think about some of this stuff, right? But there are people out there who think about this all day long, how to manipulate people. I would never think, I'm going to get online, I'm going to find a child, and I'm going to shift them over to another place. And as parents, we have to be aware of that because the kids know all these platforms. We don't. And these bad guys think about it all day long. That's what they do. So it definitely puts parents at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Because we're not thinking about it. So
right. And may not even, like you said, may not even be aware.
Not even the sphere of what I would be thinking about. So that's the issue there. Okay, the number one story that I got to ask about today, after we showed this on the news last night, This is just unbelievable. And you see it all playing. Are you going to play the whole thing, by the way? Are you going to play the soundbite here?
Yeah, let me play the soundbite
Okay,
for you.
12-year-old, by the way, arrested for street racing. Let's play that arrest, and then we'll talk about this crazy story.
Pull up here. Pull up here. Everybody's license or ID card.
I don't got ID.
Do you have a license?
No, I was testing.
Hop out. How old are you? 12. That car was on the side. This comes up next to it, and they start racing towards me, like side by side.
He's here. Wait.
So because I cannot slap them.
This is like a baseball game. There's the play-by-play. Now can we watch it again and do a little color analysis here of what's going on here?
Goodness.
So 12 years old, but at the very beginning, look at, okay, first of all, how old are you? We're license registration. You're 12. I mean, that had to blow the officer away anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then as he's driving, and he doesn't even know how a car works. You see it like when you're first learning. And this kid's street racing. That's unbelievable. And then mom wanted to whoop his.
Oh, you
I
can
love the
tell.
officer's response. It's your kid.
I can't slap him. No, I can't. But I mean, you could if you want to.
Oh, it's so good. But this is crazy. I can't believe a 12-year-old. And I think, but again, that's the part that the guys on the golf course want to talk about today was how was this guy street racing? Because it was like, there's no way this was a stick shift because he couldn't even drive a normal car here. You know, hitting it, brake. It's unbelievable.
I'm guessing he did not win the street race based
No.
on
How do you keep the car on the road? I mean, and oh my gosh, mom. And here's what I was thinking. I don't know the family situation, but if that's mom's only car, the way to get to and from work, and your 12-year-old son took it, and they could have impounded that car, oh man, my mom. I would not be here with you today. Let's just say that. I would be 6 feet under somewhere up in mid-Missouri, and I tried that stunt. So.
All right, 12 years. Just the reaction from the deputy as well.
Love it.
12?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, obviously you don't have a license or registration.
Clearly not. Well, that is today's Top 4 at 4. John, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back. coming back in 15 seconds. Nope, 5 seconds.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren joins me now. And Noah, been another beautiful day out there today.
Yeah, it has been, Garrett. It's a great Friday. In fact, temperatures are going to be getting warm tomorrow and over the weekend. We'll be back close to 90 in some spots. But we do have actually a brush fire that has broken out right now in Volusia County. This is just breaking right now. I don't have many graphics for you right now, so I will read this to you. This is right off a Campsite Road, Halifax Drive, and Daytona High Ridge Estates in Volusia County, which is just off of I-4. Right when you come in, it's probably the last exit before you would consider, the proper of Volusia County. And that brush fire is growing, and the smoke plume is crossing I-4. So if you're in that area, it does appear to be near some houses, maybe about a mile to the southwest of the International Speedway. Heads up for a rapidly growing brush fire that appears to be spreading. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. We'll hopefully have some more coverage for you on that coming up in the news at 5. But in the graphics, I'm going to show you the 7-day now, which does show that we've got some rain on the way. And that rain is going to be Sunday and Monday. And there are some good news to report. There is some good news to report that the rain on Sunday and Monday is going to produce a good amount of showers and storms, especially on Sunday afternoon into Monday. And the stuff Sunday into Monday, I do think could produce some heavy rain on the Space Coast, which is where we do have the worst drought in central Florida. And rain deficits are about 10 inches below average. And we've got possibly a couple of storms that could produce 2-3 inches of rain Sunday. So that's some good news. So to walk you through your weekend forecast, tomorrow is going to be pretty good. I think there might be a handful of thunder showers in the afternoon, but most places are probably dry. Going into Sunday, it'll be a pretty cloudy day. There'll be some thunderstorms Saturday night up in the Panhandle. The remnants of those will come by in the morning Sunday as just some showers. So Sunday morning, probably mostly cloudy, a few light showers, but that's not the main show. The main show will be Sunday afternoon and evening, mainly on the East Coast. Some scattered downpours, heavy downpours, thunderstorms, gusty winds, small hail, things like that. Not everybody's going to see that, but many will, especially on the East Coast Sunday. Monday, everywhere is fair game for those showers and storms in the afternoon and the evening. And the stuff Sunday and Monday, I do think could produce, again, a couple inches of rain, depending on where you are. Not everybody's going to see that. But the good news is that many people will. Now, going into the end of next week, you're looking at the Cocoa Beach 7-day right now. We will see another chance of rain come in towards the end of next week. Temperatures on the coast about low to mid 80s for the next week. The inland areas will be about 8 degrees warmer than the numbers you see to my right on your screen right now. But we're in severe drought for most of Central Florida. An extreme drought has grown. In fact, pretty much all of Volusia County and a good part of Lake and Marion counties are now in extreme drought, which is the worst drought we've had in more than a decade. So the rain is good news. It does feel a little weird in Florida to be saying that rain is good and we need rain because it's going to rain a ton, obviously, in most summers. But we'll watch out for that. There you go. There's your Orlando 7-day. So 89 tomorrow, about a 30% chance of a thunder shower. Sunday, again, some showers in the morning, but it's mainly late in the day. Monday, anywhere is fair game, and I think the stuff Monday will be bigger storms. There'll be slightly less of them, but the storms that pop Monday, because there'll be no clouds in the morning, will be bigger thunderstorms with a lot more lightning and things like that. So we'll watch that for you going into next week. But Garrett, at least for tonight, we're keeping our eyes on a brush fire in Volusia County. We'll track that for you. Much more coming up on the news at 5.
All right, certainly keep a close eye on that. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren, we appreciate the updates, and thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer. Thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We talked a little bit about the NASA budget cuts that have been proposed by the Trump administration, about a 25% budget cut. We're talking $6 billion and phasing out a number of programs, including the Mars sample return mission, the Lunar Gateway, which is a small space station that was going to orbit the moon. It would also end the Space Launch System rocket and the Orion spacecraft after the Artemis 3 mission. And we this afternoon talked with Dr. Don Platt, who is an associate professor of space systems and the director of the Spaceport Education Center at the Florida Institute of Technology, and he put all of this in perspective for us.
Well, I think that for the most part, the major vehicle that would probably benefit from this, of course, be the Starship and the vehicles developing or being developed by SpaceX. There could also be some Blue Origin involvement in some of that as well. I mean, anything that is going to get to the moon has to be a big rocket, like the SLS rocket here. And so obviously then Starship fits the bill and is a commercially developed system. So most likely that's going to take up much of the slack from the end of the Artemis SLS program.
This proposed budget would also cancel the Lunar Gateway. What does that mean?
Well, the Lunar Gateway was essentially a space station in orbit of the moon. And so it provided a place where astronauts could essentially arrive in lunar orbit and perhaps then prepare for a mission to the surface of the moon then, or observe the moon from the orbit around the moon. And so it'd be a waypoint in space for lunar operations and lunar observations. And so they're probably going to then essentially go back to sort of more of an Apollo style system where you quickly maybe get into a lunar orbit and land on the moon then soon after that, instead of having sort of a space station out there at the distance of the moon.
Which of these potential items on the chopping block do you think has the biggest impact for the Space Coast?
Well, most likely the SLS Orion Artemis program. The space station, as we said, we knew sort of was being phased out. It's really in an operations aspect now. So it has a relatively few number of employees, for instance, here on the Space Coast compared to SLS, which has NASA employees, it has Boeing employees and other subcontractors. Orion is a Lockheed Martin-led project and also, again, has NASA and other subcontractors involved in it as well. There are operations that are ongoing, preparations for the upcoming Artemis 2 launch, and so that'll take place. But we're sort of like in the situation where we knew the shuttle was ending. So if the SLS program, the Artemis and Orion programs are all ending after one launch after this next upcoming one, then clearly there's people that are going to have to find other opportunities, hopefully in the space industry and hopefully here in Florida.
I was going to ask about that because it sounds like there's still obviously a lot in limbo right now, and so I'm wondering kind of what that kind of means for these ongoing operations, with all these questions kind of still up in the air about what things might look like beyond Artemis 3 in this example.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of new design work that's going to have to take place to see how to efficiently, and that's the key word there, efficiently return astronauts to the moon and beyond these next upcoming missions. And how do you then take maybe parts of the Artemis program? Certainly the Starship was supposed to be a lander for the Artemis program, so it could still continue to serve that function. But how do you do all of this then, again, without a gateway, without the SLS launch vehicle, without the Orion capsule? We have to have a capsule to get our crew members to the moon. And so I suppose that would also perhaps be a Starship. There's still a lot of development, as we know. We're still waiting for Starship to get to orbit successfully. So there's a lot of development that still has to take place before Starship can certainly get to the moon.
Dr. Platt, do you think these cuts are concerning?
Well, certainly anytime you have any agency that loses 25% of their budget, I think there's a lot of concern there. There's a lot of concern for people. There's a lot of concern for the science. Much of the science is being cut from this budget. It's listing maybe $1 billion of Mars funding. which sounds like a lot, but the reality is that, unfortunately, with a project like exploring Mars, that $1 billion does not go as far as you might anticipate that it would. So there are certainly a lot of concerns here. And anytime you have uncertainty, there's a level of concern. And again, with a number of employees that may be facing layoffs and having to find new jobs, that's certainly a concern here for the Space Coast too.
And also interesting because we know there's been a lot of talk from Florida's lawmakers, Florida's leaders, trying to bring NASA headquarters to our Space Coast. Do you think that there's any kind of impact between the two there?
I think there could be an impact there actually, because if we're talking a lot about making sure that NASA can do things in an efficient manner, then the type of personnel that would operate out of a NASA headquarters, of course, are the administrators and people who are not doing the day-to-day operational functions or research and development functions. They're monitoring budgets and setting policy and things that are important, but they would probably be some of the first people to go in a budget cut, and so there would certainly be less of a presence of any future NASA headquarters to be available to come to Florida then.
What's the bottom line here, Dr. Platt, as we continue to kind of watch developments with this moving forward? Obviously, this is still very much a proposal. Congress would kind of have the final say on this, but what's the bottom line? What should we keep in mind here?
Well, the SLS program has been amazingly resilient through the years. There's been a number of people that have thought of ways to try to get rid of it, and you're right. Congress has always made sure that it stays in the budget, and that's always been part of the NASA process, is that they have people working on their systems from all over the country to sort of spread around the interest and support for NASA, and so it won't die a quick death. There's certainly going to be a number of people in Congress and all that are trying to find a way to maintain it, and so there's lots of change and focus here. Of course, change can provide opportunity, but in the meantime, there's a lot of upheaval ahead, I believe.
And what would your message be to lawmakers in Congress if you were asked why some of these cuts and canceled programs shouldn't go?
Well, a lot of the programs that are being cut include things like the development of technology. We're going to need technology if we want to maintain our leadership in space. And the Chinese are certainly spending lots of money on space right now and are actually having a tremendous amount of success. And so if we want to maintain that leadership in space, it's hard to do that and cut $6 billion out of a budget. I believe that certainly we have to find ways to be more efficient. And the SLS Artemis program has really been totally inefficient throughout its entire existence. And so unfortunately, it may then, meet its demise because of that inefficiency. It's very important, though, that we maintain a focus. We've always seen that focus is critical to the development of space. It's been recommended ever since whenever we had space shuttle disasters. The investigation committees have said that we have to have focus and a sustainable program that is well funded in order to attain our goals and to do it successfully and safely. And so that today is no different than in those days, and we need to maintain a focus and a commitment to space exploration in a safe but yet still efficient way.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus, and Marlisa Goldsmith joining me there, doing a little bit of training behind the scenes here. This was a shot that I did not mean to take, so I apologize, Marlisa. But let's go to a couple updates now of a couple stories that we've been following, that Fox 35's Esther Bauer has been telling us about this week, and some very important updates to these. So I want to go ahead and bring in Esther. Esther, we appreciate you joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus this afternoon. Let's start by talking about these speed zone cameras, because a pretty major update after we talked with you about this that came out from the meeting in Palm Bay.
Yeah, so we had a city council meeting last night where we told you, we broke the news that more than 200 tickets were sent out to Palm Bay drivers. They were tickets that should never have been sent out. They were sourced and cited to the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, so drivers hundreds of miles away here in Palm Bay shouldn't have received those. So we broke that news Thursday, and then there was a city council meeting Thursday night where we also told you one city council member was going to be bringing this up. He's brought it up several times before, hearing from people, hearing from taxpayers, hey, I've gotten this ticket. I don't think it's fair. I don't think I was speeding, just voicing frustrations with the system. So it's really just been one person, bringing this up and saying, can we look a little bit deeper into this company that is now ticketing hundreds of people in the city? After our story and after this meeting, we have several city leaders saying they are frustrated with the system, and it's really doing more harm than good for the community. So we have the city legal team, city manager, and police chief getting involved separately, sending letters, reaching out, saying what is going on. We had glitches a few months ago. We're having new glitches again. Police chief said, quite frankly, that the citizens are starting to lose trust in his department because they are just not trusting the system, not trusting the tickets, and it's ultimately coming back on him. So that is the biggest update. There is now some citywide views of coming together to say, hey, we really need to get to the bottom of this, and is this the best program? So I can tell you all those departments are in talks right now. And looking at the contract that the city has signed with this company, we reached out today for a copy of that contract, still working to receive that document. But we specifically want to know, how long did a city decide to go into contract with this camera ticketing company? And do they have a legal clause that they can get out, terminate, if enough has come out that the problems are just making things worse? So that is the newest development. If you didn't see yesterday's story, and if you were sent a ticket for $100 citation for speeding down in South Florida, it's about 215 people. You do not need to pay it. You should not be paying it. The company tells us the problem happened because they had someone out here doing some work on one of the cameras, and there was a coding switch that ultimately sent South Florida tickets to Palm Bay drivers. So those are the latest updates. As of now, cameras are still in use. We did ask also, is there going to be a pause to the system? There was before. Police chief wouldn't confirm that at this point, but just a lot of talks happening behind the scenes to get to the bottom of these problems.
All right, interesting stuff there to continue to see what happens next with it. Now let's talk next about this special needs park and some updates with that story that we talked about with you earlier this week as well.
Yeah, so on Monday, we were out at the Fred Poppy Park because there's a beautiful brand new special needs playground that, you would think families would be flocking to. But on Monday, we heard from several parents who said, you know what, this is supposed to be a special needs park, but it's right next to, steps away, a large body of water. Several did not feel safe bringing their kiddos to the park. And what you're looking at on your screen, several had also reached out and sent messages for years asking the city, hi there, we love the park, but can you just get a fence around it? We don't think it is the safest situation for our family. So we did that report on Monday, and we have a new update from the city council that they are adding it into the budget. So they are going to get a fence in, something families have been working on for years. we're seeing some positive change in just a couple of days. We went back out to the park today, families, and they just say, safe. We were not sure budget has been added in, and there will be a new fence hopefully sooner rather than later at this.
All right. Well, a couple of big updates. Fox 35's Esther Bauer been working hard there in the community of Palm Bay and holding people accountable, getting some answers for folks there. Just another reason you can depend on Fox 35. Esther, we appreciate you joining us and appreciate all your great reporting.
Absolutely. And we'll keep you posted.
All right. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon. Roblox is responding to continued concerns about child safety on its online platform. This comes in the days after Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier issued a subpoena to the online video game company, saying that the company isn't doing enough to make sure that children are safe while playing their game. Just to speak again to the popularity of it, Roblox says that half of all American children under the age of 16 play Roblox at least once a month. But we have seen a number of stories that show concerns and that predators are out there and using Roblox in some ways to prey on children and other users on there. Now, this morning, Fox 35's Matt Trezza had the chance to speak with the chief safety officer of Roblox about the company's efforts to keep kids safe. This is the second half of the conversation. We played the first part for you this afternoon on Florida Live. If you'd like to watch the full thing, you can do that right now on demand on Fox Local. But here's Matt talking with Matt Kaufman about some of the steps to keep kids safe.
What does Roblox do to let parents know right off the bat that you have these safeguards in place, and also what they can do to put locks and restrictions on accounts for their children to make sure that they don't even come up against some of these bad actors?
Yeah. So this is a question I get a lot from my friends who have kids, and it's something I talk about regularly. I think our advice for parents is advice for really keeping kids safe online. It's more broad than just Roblox. And it really starts with spending time with your kid and using the applications your kids are using. We really invite parents to get on Roblox, play some of the games, see what it's like, and see what those interactions are like, because that's really the beginning of building a conversation with your kid or your teen about how they're spending their time online. Then we have a robust set of parental controls that we have. And these parental controls cover everything from limiting what kind of content the kid can see, to limiting who their friends are, to really understanding where their kids are spending time. We call that screen time. And so we have those controls. And the last piece of advice is really to have an ongoing dialogue with your kid or your teen about what it's like to interact with other people online and what are appropriate behaviors, not just what you would expect from other people, but really what you also expect as your kid to be exhibiting online as well. So it really comes back to that dialogue between parents and kids and teens, which we feel builds the foundation of safety for online use.
Is there any way you can give me any figures or even just like ballpark figures about how many instances per week, per month you engage in investigations or you red flag someone for more scrutiny?
So we actually publish our numbers in our transparency reports about the number of things that we flag. Now, one thing that's unique about Roblox is, in particular for people who are uploading content, we review all of that content before anybody else sees it. So we are very, very proactive with that. We have automated moderation systems that tackle all of that stuff. And like I said, our policies are much more stringent than really anybody else in the industry. And because of that, we actually report a decent amount of content, but that content is never seen by anybody. And we're proud of that, that we're taking care of this stuff before anybody sees it or before it impacts others.
Very good. Are there any, in light of, oh, well, before I move on to that, what's your take on the Florida AG's subpoena of Roblox, and how do you plan to work with him to furnish the information that he's looking for?
So we have been in touch with the Florida AG's office, and we're happy that they're investigating. We're happy that they are taking child safety online seriously. And like I said, child safety online is, and teen safety, I want to make sure that we cover both. It's an industry problem. It's not something that's unique to Roblox. And we are eager to be part of the conversation to find industry-wide solutions to tackle some of the challenges that we see.
Very good. When I reached out to parents, the first story so this is the third time I'll be reporting on Roblox. Previously, it was the incident that happened this week, and before that, it was when the AG started his investigation. And you all have been great to work with throughout this coverage, so I appreciate that. But one of the things when I interviewed parents, they said was, it's great that Roblox has the parental controls to keep my kid from going where they shouldn't go, but in one instance, the parent said, I only learned about that from another parent. And the second parent said, I really had to dig around to find that. Is it possible that you might be considering some changes to make that more front and center for people who are opening accounts for kids?
So we do have a parent center and a family center on Roblox, and we invest a lot in the content that we provide there. And we do try and make that information as easy to find as possible. One thing to note, though, is that when there are certain restrictions that we have about reaching out to parents. So because privacy is so important for children on Roblox and just in general, mandated by law, we don't collect email addresses and we don't collect phone numbers of our youngest users who are joining the platform. And because of that, we're limited in how much outreach we can do there, because it really is about the privacy of those kids who are on the platform. But we do try and make our tools as available as possible. The other thing I would say is that our approach to safety on Roblox is safety by default. It's safety regardless of whether a parent is involved or not, because as much as we want to establish that connection between the parents and the kids, and we really recommend that dialogue between parents and their children to really, grow that understanding of what's happening online, the reality is that lots of parents and guardians are really busy. They have jobs, they're taking care of other kids, and it's our responsibility to make sure the platform is safe by default for everybody, regardless of whether those parental controls have been put in place.
For the bad guys out there who may be watching this, if they do, what would you like them to know? Is kind of a takeaway for them, kind of like, whenever you're using Roblox, we're always watching?
Yes, Roblox is unique in the fact that we don't encrypt any messaging. We monitor all messaging. We have some of the most stringent policies in the world, and we're very aggressive at reporting issues to law enforcement. And Roblox is just, it is not a place where bad actors will want to be.
Gotcha. And for the parents out there, where would be the best way to direct them for information on Roblox and keeping their kids safe?
So our website is the best place. I'm going to give you a URL, but Kadia should give you the right URL because I'm going to mess it up because I think it's roblox.com/families. But I'd like to make sure that we confirm that.
Excellent. Yeah, I'd love to get that. And also, if you could direct me to where I can find those transparency reports so that we can make sure we get that data in as well.
Sure. Yeah, we can provide all of that information.
Excellent. Those are really all the questions that I wanted to ask. Is there anything, well, one other thing, what do you think makes Roblox so popular with children? I mean, 80 million, 90 million daily users, 40% of them kids. Is it the creativity aspect of it, the imagination? What do you think makes it such a great appeal?
Yeah. I would start off by saying that Roblox is a place where kids go to spend time with their friends and their family. And it's a place where they hang out. And it's a place where they discover and they explore things. And when I think about it, oftentimes I think about my own childhood. And I think, when I was a child, we went to the movies, we went to the mall, we went to the beach, we did all kinds of stuff like that. And I think today, kids still do that kind of stuff, but they also spend a lot of time hanging out with each other online. And speaking for myself as, again, I said a parent of 2 teens, I've seen them grow up on Roblox. And what I've seen is that initially when they were much younger, they played games. It was about the game, hey, I want to achieve this goal, or I want to, build this house, or whatever it is. And as they got older, it really evolved into spending time with their friends. And I have my son is in college and still plays Roblox with his friends. And I often ask, I say, wow, you're in college, you're a serious gamer. Like what are you seeing in Roblox? And what I learned from that is that it's a place where he can spend time with his friends from high school and his new friends from college. And it's just an equal playing ground where everybody can engage with each other and just hang out. And when I think about that, I think, wow, that's really no different than when I, used to go to the beach with my friends when I was a kid. So I think that a lot of the things that kids do to spend time with each other and have a place just to hang out, where those things are change over time. Obviously, I'm of a generation before all of this, but the kids are still doing the same thing. They want to spend time with their friends and they want to have fun and they just want to, chat with each other.
All right, I appreciate it. Anything else you want to tell me or let me know?
I mean, I would just like to end with just, reminding you and your viewers that safety is our #1 priority at Roblox. Anytime any incident like this happens, we treat it as an all hands on deck effort to try and understand what happened and what we can do better. We understand that systems are not perfect. We understand that the bad actors are constantly evolving, but it's our commitment to make Roblox as safe as it possibly can be. And we devote an enormous amount of resources to that. And when we talk about those resources, a lot of times it's the people behind the scenes. We have professional investigators and computer scientists and policymakers that really spend all of their time all day trying to figure out how to make Roblox as safe as possible. And their commitment and their efforts that they put into this are truly remarkable. And I don't want their efforts to, get lost in some of these discussions.
Again, if you'd like to watch that full interview, you can do it right now on Fox Local. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Live look at the Twin Spires at Churchill Downs, Louisville, Kentucky, ahead of the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby tomorrow evening. There's a field of 19 horses, and a few of them actually have some Florida ties. Neo Equos, Sovereignty, and Sandman. And earlier today, had the chance to speak with Natalie Voss, who's the editor-in-chief of the Pollock Report, to handicap the races for us. Well, Natalie, happy Oaks Day to you, and happy Kentucky Derby Eve. A fun week, but a busy week as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've all the hard work is done, and for the horses and the people, now we're just waiting to see what happens.
All right, so the favorite right now is still considered to be Journalism. What makes it the favorite right now?
So he's coming off of a prep race in California where he really didn't get a particularly good trip. He had to deal with some traffic. He had to go outside. He had a lot of stuff thrown at him, even though there weren't that many other horses in the field. And a lot of people find that really promising, because the whole challenge of the Derby for many very good horses that come and don't necessarily win is that there are so many horses in the field, and many of them may have never experienced traffic before. He's experienced traffic, and he's shown us that he's determined enough. He's not going to let that stop him.
For those of us here in Florida, we do know there are a couple of Florida horses as well in this year's field.
Yes, so Neo Equos is Florida bred, meaning that he's part of Florida's breeding program, either having been foaled there or having a connection to a stallion that stands there. I think he was probably born there, is my guess. He also sold as a yearling in Florida. He was just $22,000, which in the horse racing world is a comparative bargain for a horse that's now going into the Kentucky Derby. So he's one of the home team options for Floridians, but you also don't want to leave out a horse named Sovereignty. He finished second in the Florida Derby as his preparation for the Kentucky Derby. And I personally really liked the look of him there, even though he didn't win the race. He's what's known as a closer. So he likes to do his running at the end of the race and come from way out of it and try to get there at the very end. And I just think those horses are so much fun to watch. And he, even though he didn't quite get there, he looked really convincing. He looked like he just needed a little bit more distance, and he would have been there. He's going to get more distance tomorrow.
Yeah, certainly so. We know that they're, well, let me ask you this way. What are the track conditions looking like for now, and how could that play into things tomorrow?
So right now here in Kentucky, we've had some rain on and off for the last couple days, but the dirt track, the turf track are both in perfectly normal shape, but we're scheduled to get some thunderstorms this evening and then some pretty consistent rain overnight into the morning. So tomorrow, this is going to be a wetter, slightly deeper track than what a lot of these horses are going to be used to. And there are some horses that run just fine with that, and there are some that kind of say, wait a minute, this is a lot more work. I don't know if I want to do this. So we'll have to see how that plays in.
And always a gamble too, in more ways than one, because you don't always know. We're talking younger horses who may not have a lot of experience on wetter tracks like that.
Yeah, so there are a couple who have had a little bit of experience on that and done all right. There's really nobody who's seen wetter tracks before and just sort of shrunk away from them. So there's really nobody that you can throw out based on past experience. There's a horse named Coal Battle who has seen wet tracks a couple of times, didn't let it bother him. And then one of the two Japanese runners has run over wet tracks a couple of times in Japan. Luxor Cafe is, well, actually really both of them, Luxor Cafe and Admire Daytona, have seen wet tracks and really weren't too bothered by that.
How do historically Japanese horses do in the Derby?
So they haven't won yet, but they have come with very strong contenders. One of these times you're going to have a Japanese Kentucky Derby winner. It's just a matter of which year. There was a new Japanese element of the road to the Kentucky Derby that was set up. I'm trying to remember how many years ago now, 3 or 4, I think. Where there are now qualifying races that take place in Japan that get you qualifying points to the Derby. So there has been a greater number of them coming these last few years because they can qualify at home and then ship over here and deal with the quarantine aspect and be ready to run. I'd have to look up really quick what Forever Young did in the Kentucky Derby. He ended up being a really big deal afterwards, and I think he hit the board, but I don't remember if he was second or third or fourth. I know he was in the mix and ended up just being absolutely dominant internationally afterwards. He was third, so their best finish so far would be a horse named Forever Young, who was third in the Kentucky Derby last year. And he ended up being a very big deal internationally afterwards. He was considered not just good as a 3-year-old in America or in Japan, but he went on and ran other places as well as coming back here for the Breeders' Cup, actually, and was very consistent. So very strong contender, just didn't go his way last year.
Last thing I'll ask you here, any of these Florida horses have a chance to win, place, or show tomorrow?
Personally, I wouldn't leave Sovereignty out, but Sandman is a horse who a lot of people think it has a good chance to beat Journalism. He was sold in Florida as a 2-year-old. He was $1.2 million as a 2-year-old and is very popular with anybody who's trying to find an angle other than Journalism. So I would say if you want a home team rooting interest that has a good chance to win or hit the board, I would go with Sandman. Big gray horse, lovely horse.
All right, so were you taking notes there? So now you know who to put your money on for tomorrow's Derby. Well, thanks for joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus. It's been a busy week. We appreciate you joining us. We're here weekdays, 11 a.m., 2 p.m., and 4 p.m., and other times too as news warrants on Fox Local. Let's go ahead and send you out to Studio B for the start of Fox 35 News at 5. See John and Luann getting ready for the start of that newscast, which begins in 20 seconds right here on Fox Local.
Right now on Fox 35 News at 5, we are following 2 breaking stories at this hour. Deputies searching for this man in Orange County after a 90-year-old was attacked at an assisted living facility. They have some questions for this guy.